Can love, unlimited love, a love for everybody without exception, be part of the everyday workplace? Can it encourage philanthropy? 10 years ago, people thought it was a silly question. Now, there is a very successful scholarly research journal called the Journal of Management, Spirituality, and Religion. Many of the articles are about how we need a workplace environment that allows people of every tradition to have some freedom to be who they are, to express a bit of who they are, to have, for example, interreligious chapels in corporate headquarters, where people can have an opportunity to express their deepest meanings and to find love in the workplace through their spirituality. So this is incredibly successful. It's now been ongoing for about 7 years. It has researchers from the finest institutions, not just in America, but in South America and Canada and in Europe. People are realizing that the workplace doesn't have to be a place where you leave everything aside, all your deepest values, whether you're a Hindu or a Buddhist or a Christian or a secularist or whatever. You can have a workplace that allows room for some freedom of spiritual expression. And we can learn about one another, we can respect one another, we can figure out what makes people tick, what makes them do the things they do, what makes them care about their neighbor. So you're in the workplace and you have a sense that, my Hindu colleague here sitting at the desk right over there, well, they have this idea of Atman equals Brahman. They have the idea that somehow everybody has a soul, and that soul is a small drop of the infinite mind, the infinite supreme mind of the Brahman. So every one of us is infinitely valuable. We just have that small bit of God within us, but our dignity is unassailable. Our dignity is great. It's very exciting these days because a lot of the big, huge companies, eBay and Google and so forth, are developing whole management systems based on love. I got a report some months ago from a shopping center in Vancouver, British Columbia. They wanted to know, is it really true that helping others, loving your neighbor, makes a difference? And does it make a difference in the workplace? So the owner of this huge mall got together with the various managers of these big stores. And he said, why don't you give your employees 2 hours off a week, pay them, okay? Don't dock their pay, but actually pay them to go out and do the most creative, loving thing they can in the neighborhood for people who are needy. So these store managers agreed to do that. They did it for 6 weeks. And then, interestingly enough, afterwards, the business in the shopping center went up by 14%. Customers felt more love, more kindness, more consideration from all of these employees. And worker retention went up because the employees felt pride in their companies. My company isn't just selling stuff, but my company is a company of love. In these kinds of management systems, you take time to celebrate people's accomplishments in life, celebrate the benchmarks in their life, the things that are happening in their families. Celebration is a manifestation of love. It's an affirmation, it's a gratitude for the lives of the people around you. Compassion is important. Compassion also is an expression of love. You've got to have compassion for the people in the workplace. Mirth. a little bit of humor is an expression of love, actually. And so it helps to have some lightness in the workplace, so it's not just all heavy and hard and shadowy. But absolutely, we can develop that notion of Kahlil Gibran, that work should be love made visible. We can create environments like that, and it can work and be very effective and bring out people's creativity, because one thing we know from many good scientific studies is that real innovation, real creativity comes when people feel loved. Creativity requires input from different parts of the brain. It's not just linear memorization, going through the motions, but it requires a kind of integration of knowledge. And those moments, those right brain moments of insight, sometimes very surprising insight, that actually is much more likely and common when people are in a work environment that is associated with security, with safety, with love. It doesn't mean that all stress is bad, don't get me wrong. There is such a thing as good stress, in a sense, you know. But you want to make sure that your workplace is first and foremost consistent with love. And you want to make sure that people are doing things that they feel are meaningful. Meaning is a hard thing to find. People float from one job to another because it's empty for them. Try to attract people who take real delight in what you're doing, who find what you're doing meaningful. You know, I've hired people in this program here at this university, and some of them found what we were doing to be deeply meaningful, and that was successful. But some didn't. So meaning is key. The search for meaning is important, and you've got to have that in your work life. Philanthropically, absolutely. The great philanthropist John Templeton, who was one of my mentors, he just lived for love. He made quite a few $billions, and he left it all for a foundation that would study human spirituality, that would study great human strengths and virtues. And in the final analysis, though, he thought that the world would only have a future if it could move forward toward pure, unlimited love. And you know, he didn't think that was something possible for just human nature on its own. He thought that that required us to connect with some energy in the universe, some spiritual energy underlying the universe that would move us forward, heal us, allow us to be healing, and bring us a joy that is deep and enduring and more lasting than happiness, a joy and a hope. And he thought unlimited love was the way to go. So his whole philanthropy was focused on pure, unlimited love. And there are many philanthropists who are ultimately motivated by love. That's really what philanthropy means. Philanthropy means love for humanity. We need more of it. We need less greed. We need more and more people who are willing to recognize that they can't take their wealth with them. When you die, you die. Death is the great equalizer. So why not give it away for things that are really meaningful and lasting? That's what we need. So if we can appreciate in the workplace all these multiple spiritualities and relate to one another with more respect and love and care, because we see in each individual the image of God, however they consider that. Call it ultimate reality, call it ground of being, call it infinite mind, call it whatever you want to. It doesn't really matter to me. But the point is that if we can celebrate these different traditions of love in the workplace, we'll probably be better off than if we just insist that everybody takes all that off as soon as they walk through the door. They take that off like you take clothes off if you were taking a shower. But the problem is if they leave that behind, they're not who they are. So part of love in the workplace is respecting the spirituality of everybody who comes to give their best to creativity and innovation and work.